Hello, everybody, and welcome to Sideline to Speedway. Here, I am your host, Mekhi Winfrey, joined by Parker Merrey, as always. Here, you know, it's the week 11 just wrapped up in the NFL. Week 12 just wrapped up on the college scene. For college, there's only 3 more weeks till we determine who's going to a bowl game, who's going to go to the playoffs. The NFL's got a little bit extra ahead on the road. They're getting close to Thanksgiving games, which I'm sure will be excited to talk about in a couple of weeks, but that's all in the future. Let's look at the current tense, though, more Parker. But before I ask you about kind of what happened this week, do you want to tell our viewers what we decided we were going to change up for the show?
So for this show, we're gonna bring back a little bit of we're gonna bring you back to your roots, your schooling roots, right? You know, you used to have a grade book back in the day, and you were always super nervous to figure out what did you get? Did you get an A? Did you get an F? Or did you misbehave and get put in detention? And so we decided, you know what? Let's do it over the NFL football teams. Give them a grade over their entire season. We've decided that it's going to be mainly expectations based. So if you came in with high expectations and you're underperforming, you're not going to get a good grade. But if you came in, nobody believed in you, and you're having a great year, then you're probably going to pass and get a fantastic grade.
I was always a B student through most of high school, I'd say.
B
So
student.
I'd say
Okay.
we'll see if that's indicative of my teams so far this
Yeah.
season, but we'll get there. We'll get
I
there.
think your teams would be lucky to have a B. I'll tell you
Yeah,
that
we'll,
much.
we'll get there. We'll get there. Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
You know what? I'll start us off. Look, there are a few teams this year that are really misbehaving, and they kind of need to be put in their place. And the three teams that I am currently putting in detention are the Las Vegas Raiders, who got blown out by the Cowboys on Monday Night Football. Didn't look great. Haven't looked great all year. Geno Smith looks terrible. It's just not going well for them. The Washington Commanders, who took another loss to the Dolphins, their losing streak just continues. They're in detention as well. And the Atlanta Falcons, who have by far the most talented roster out of these three teams in detention, but just can't get the coaching right. I think Raheem Morris, of anybody, should be put in detention because this team is just a disaster right now.
Undercoached.
So all three of them need time to think.
Yeah, I was gonna say they're just undercoached, simply. But,
Hmm.
do you want me to go to detention, or do you want to just go through your rankings here?
Well, who do you have in detention?
All
I
right,
say
you know what?
let's
Let's do it that
start
way.
up and go up.
Okay, so in my detention, I only have 2 teams. I also have the Raiders. They are in detention. They have been misbehaving for about 25 years now. I don't necessarily
Yeah.
think that's a difference. In detention, I also have the Cincinnati Bengals, who are coming off of
Ooh.
a blowout loss to the Steelers. I'll get to that a little bit later, but I have the Bengals in detention.
Wow. The Cincinnati Bengals. That's tough. All right. Well, now let's talk about the people who are absolutely not passing class right now. These teams have an F grade, and that's going to be the Tennessee Titans and the Cincinnati Bengals. Both have ridiculous defenses, both have ridiculous offensive lines, but both have supremely talented quarterbacks, at least when they're healthy, in Joe Burrow and Cam Ward. As you mentioned, the Bengals got blown out, and the Titans actually had a close loss against the Texans, where they kind of were clawing back into it at the end, but they weren't able to get it done. Neither team is going to get out of the F tier this week.
For me in the F tier, I actually have 3 teams here. I have the Titans, as we just mentioned. You said everything I could say. Mason Kinsley got called up off the practice squad, and well, we saw how that went. The Commanders, I have in the F. They have an F grade right now. I mean, their season's effectively over with Daniels out anyway, so they're just kind of trying to get to a D if possible, and pass the season. And the Jets, I have at F because of the expectations I had for them, which it may be a little unfair, but if I'm going to set high expectations for you and you don't meet them, you're going to be dragged down with everyone else. You don't get a pass because you're the Jets. So the Jets have an F grade coming off of a loss to the Patriots.
Wow. That's tough. All right. Well, there's the Fs. Now I'm going to move up into the Ds. A lot of teams looking really mediocre right now. Let's get into them. The New York Football Jets, a team you already mentioned. I give them a little more credit than you just because I didn't have expectations for them. The Minnesota Vikings took another loss to the Bears. It's just not looking great for them right now. They got to get JJ McCarthy going. His alter ego needs to show if they're ever going to
9.
win games. Yeah, his alter ego 9. They have a D right now, and it's not looking good if they want to move up. Then I have the Cardinals have a D as well. They took a blowout loss to the 49ers. their grade isn't going anywhere. I mean, they're the Cardinals. Whoever's at, no matter who's at quarterback, they're not going to be good. Even though one quarterback is definitely better than the other. Then the Miami Dolphins also have a D. They actually won to get. I would have given them an F last week, but they're keeping their season alive. Playoff hopes,
Nah.
probably not, but you never know. And then two more teams that are kind of in similar categories. I have the Saints and the Browns, both have a D. Just both of them have just been underwhelming this year. I had no expectations for the Saints, and they have done just about that. But then the Browns, I didn't have expectations for them either, but I had expectations for their quarterback situation. I thought they would have figured out a starting quarterback by now, but Flacco is no longer on the team. Dylan Gabriel comes on and he looks like the worst starter in the league. And then they get Shador Sanders on and he looks bad. So, you know, this far into the season, I feel like you need to have a quarterback established. They don't, so it's a disaster for them. The Ravens are kind of starting to creep up. They have a D right now. They were in detention for a lot of this year. You know what I mean? But they're starting to get their golden stars back. They're winning games, and they literally have the same record as the Chiefs. That's crazy. Speaking of the Chiefs, they also have a D. Um, I thought this week against the Broncos was going to be where they kind of got their season back on track. We're going to talk a little bit more about that game later on in the show, but that was just a disaster for the Chiefs to not win that game, which is a game they historically do win. So they have a D. And then the Giants have a D as well. Just the injuries are killing them. No Scadaboo, no Jackson Dart the last couple weeks. It's a bad look for them. So those are all the teams I have in my D tier.
You have a big D tier. I have a small one. So, uh, I have three teams in this group. Sorry, four. Sorry, four. I have four.
Oh, that is
So
very small.
I
It's like
have
it's like
the
average, all right. It's like
yeah.
average.
It's a normal size for that tier. Um, in this tier, I have a team you just previously mentioned. I have the Cardinals, who again we've talked about numerous accounts or on numerous accounts in this podcast. They just did about exactly what they did last week, so nothing new from them. The Falcons, you already talked about again. So much talent on that team. Now Penix being out for the season with his injury, and Jim just being simply undercoached leads to a recipe for disaster. You have the Ravens in D tier. I do too, but they also happen to rank lower just because of how many teams I have in C, which we'll get to that in a moment. Um, but yeah, they're getting their season back on track, like you said. We're in detention most of the year, and then I have the Texans at a D, which I know people will hate because, like, oh, they're right on the playoff picture. They could still technically win the division. I don't want to hear any of that. They started the season out super poor, super poor. They're playing good now, but their offense for the first 6 weeks of the season was not very good. So all things considered, they're getting their way back to passing, but they're at a D right now.
Wow. I mean, I like that you brought up that this is a full season grade. This is not just what you did last week or what you've done over the past 5 weeks. This is what you've done the entire season. And the Texans started off in detention. Let's be
Miserable,
real.
miserable.
0-4, right?
I think it was 0-3, maybe. I think they won
0-3,
week.
0-4,
Yeah,
something ridiculous. They were way down, but they're kind of making a comeback now. I got to give them some credit. Now let's get into the C's. Not good, not bad. At least you're passing. You're nowhere near detention, but you're a few wins away from detention, or let me say this, you're a few losses away from detention, but you're a few wins away from having an A and being in the playoffs. So let's get into the C teams. For me, I had the Dallas Cowboys as my first C team. Honestly, they've exceeded expectations for incredible, and it's something that I did not see coming. And yet their defense is worse than I thought it would be, even with Micah Parsons gone. It's ridiculous. But the last couple weeks have not been as bad. They're kind of starting to get together. I give them a C. Another team in my C tier, you already covered them. The Houston Texans. It was a tight win against the Titans. It should not have been that close, but it was. Texans are getting their season back on track, so you got to give them credit. They're back in playoff contention, and if that team gets in the playoffs, that defense is going to be scary for a lot of teams. So I would not want to face the pass rush that they have. The Pittsburgh Steelers also have a C. It was a good blowout win for them against Cincinnati this last week, but we're talking about an F team. For some people, we're talking about a team that's in detention. I think blowing them out is not impressive at
yeah,
all.
yeah.
Steelers still have a C for me. They're just above 500 in the record. And then let me talk about all three of these C teams
Oh
kind of in a
wow.
lump. Lions, Chargers, Packers. All three of them, under the right circumstances, could win the Super Bowl this year. The Detroit Lions have some injuries and some offensive struggles. They were atrocious on
That
fourth
was
down this
bad.
past Sunday night against the
It's
Eagles. It was
bad.
embarrassing. 0 for 5. Lions need to get their offense right and get a little healthier in the secondary, and they can move up. Green Bay Packers are also in the C tier. They almost lost to the New York Giants this past week.
Who
They,
don't have Dart.
I, yeah, look, I'm a big fan of winning close games, but when you're doing it every single week, it raises questions about how good you are. So they have a C for me, and then the Chargers are the last C team. So for me, I have concerns about the tackle injuries for them. Justin Herbert this past week in a game that we'll get into a little later looked ridiculous. Around 80 passing yards. The running backs got about 20 rushing yards. I mean, they had almost no offense. And I think all of it stems from not having a starting tackle on your offensive line. You don't have Rashawn Slater. You don't have Joe Alt now. So it's a disaster. I don't know what Herbert's supposed to do. So they're a C, but I could easily see them dropping.
I'll get to them in a moment here, but I have a really large chunk of people that are in the C tier here. You know, they're
You do.
coasting along. They're not flying colors. They don't stand out to me at conferences, but when it comes down to it, they're doing what they need to do to pass. And I'll start with the team that you mentioned already, the Lions. This team I really wanted to drop a letter grade, but I can't just because they are still a team in
Wow.
contention for the playoffs and very well so. But they have not looked up to expectation. Let's be real here. I know they lost their coaching staff, but I think everyone would agree that their expectation is to go out there and be a 12, 13 win team, right? I think that's a general thing, and they do not look on pace to do that. They look on pace to be a maybe 10 win team, and that's scary to me. That's a bit underwhelming, but I can't drop them too hard for that. Dolphins, kind of like you said earlier, they're starting to catch a wave of momentum. I'm gonna buy into it a little bit, but I'm gonna be a little skeptical. We'll see how that goes. Vikings, you mentioned it earlier. Browns, again, them and the Saints, who I'll put together here as well. Two teams who had no real expectations, are kind of meeting their expectations. In both cases, have had moments where they looked good and thought they would exceed them, but ultimately kind of performing how we thought. The Chiefs, they have a C. I had them at a B last week, but after this week's loss, I have to drop them. Mahomes doesn't usually lose division games, and losing two of them in one season is concerning. Um, the Dallas Cowboys, you've already mentioned, who again I am in agreement with everything you said. The Chargers you have in this tier, I do too. I think again losing your tackles and that being the main reason you guys are either a contender or not is scary to me. That you're that reliant on two players. Um, the Jaguars, who beat them that badly, are in the C tier for me, only because they were in the slumps for like 3 weeks. So I have to take that into consideration. But they're looking like they're headed towards back to the B column. And then I have the Giants at C. I'm a little optimistic here, but I think considering a lot of people had us going like 2-15, even though we still might, we're playing a lot better than a 2-15 team. So I would like to give that credit there. So that's my C tier.
All right. Um, Now getting into my B tier, these are the teams that have all had at least a decent season, if not a fantastic season for their expectations. So let's get into the B tier. The first one, narrowly missing that packed C tier, is the Buffalo Bills. They were able to pick up a win against the Bucks this past weekend. Josh Allen looked the best he's looked all year, probably. It's he had a
It's a
fantastic
good
game.
time to start looking good.
It's a good time to start looking good. We're getting towards the playoffs. Some questions were being posed about how good is Allen right now. He had some turnovers early that I was a little concerned about, but after that, he played a flawless game, led the Bills to victory, so he moves up to a B. And on the losing side of that football game, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who early on in the year were an A plus easily, but they just continue to drop down. We could be talking about them being 6-5 here next week because they
That's
have a tough
scary.
game next week
Yeah.
as well. So it's not looking great for Tampa. They're moving down, but their early season success still gives them a good grade with a B. The 49ers have a very impressive B because although they've started to lose some games lately, the fact that they're still like they blew out the Cardinals this past weekend with all the injuries they had, but now they're getting healthier. They're getting Brock Purdy back. Um, um, maybe Mac Jones 2.0, but it seems like he's a little better because he played better than we've seen Mac play so far this year. It was a great game from Brock Purdy. So that would, impressive things out of the 49ers. They could be moving up to an A before we know it. And then another B team I have is the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jacksonville, I have a lot of confidence in. They, blowing out a team like the Chargers, putting up 35 on that defense, I think is pretty impressive. Because I do think LA has a good defense. And then holding the Chargers to 6 despite their tackle injury issues is a huge deal. So Jacksonville's defense, I still think, is top tier. And then my final B team, I wanted to put them in A, but I just couldn't quite do it because of their strength of victory, and it's the Carolina Panthers. They have exceeded expectations. I had them going 8-9, I believe, this year. Right now they're 6-5. They're on pace to be better than that. So Panthers are in a good position. But I'd like to see them win some more competitive games before I can move them up into the A tier.
So my B tier is kind of similar to your C and B tier. It kind of mixes them together. We'll see in a second. Starting with, I wanted to drop them like you did, but I can't just because they are still competing for their division. I have the Packers at a B, although I am concerned considering how they beat the Giants. I have the Broncos at a B. I'm not sold. I don't care that they're 8-2, 9-2 now. Are they 9-2? I'm not sold. This is the same team I saw from Pittsburgh 5 years ago, but I'm sure we'll cover that in the future. Uh, the Bills, you talked about it. They're starting to get good when it kind of matters. This is exactly what I expected about 5 weeks ago. The 49ers, again, all these injuries, they're still sustaining. Although they're not probably going to do much if they get to the playoffs, they're at least going to be in the discussion for it. Um, Steelers continuing to do Steeler things. Honestly, no comments there. The Bucks, they again continuing to slide. They're performing well. Again, that was a good game against the Bills, but this showed to me who the real better quarterback is. That was kind of what I saw out of that game. It was more Baker versus Allen than anything. And then the last team I had to drop into a B. I had them at an A last week, and I know you're going to heard about this one. I have the Seattle Seahawks dropping. The only reason I really dropped them is just because, man, you can't. The same thing I said about the Colts when they lost to the Steelers. You can't have that many turnovers, expect to win the football game, and not get criticism for it because you easily should have won that game. But again, we'll talk about it because I do have something else I want to say about that later. But that's my B tier.
All right. Now getting into my A tier. These are the best of the best. Maybe not the best of the best, but they are some of the best. The best of the best. We'll get into that later. So my first A team is going to be the Chicago Bears. They picked up a tough, hard-fought win against the Vikings. They had to get another Caleb Williams comeback drive at the end. He's been great at that this year, which is maybe not the best thing. You look at the Bengals, the Giants, the Vikings. He's had to come back and win those games, but I think it says a lot about a young quarterback like Caleb. The Bears lead their division. I think they're an A team. Denver Broncos. I absolutely think they're an A team. I think they deserve a lot of credit after the Chiefs game. I have been maybe the biggest Broncos hater this year. I have just not been a believer in them at all. I still don't think they're the best team in the AFC, but I think they deserve an A because they've exceeded my expectations. And to knock off that win against the Chiefs, which we're going to talk about more later in the show, it's just such an astronomically huge win because it's a game that the Broncos are not supposed to win. It would be like the Bills beating the Chiefs in the playoffs. It never happens, and yet the Broncos just went and did it. So I think it's so impressive. It's defying odds. They get an A. Seattle Seahawks still get an A for me, simply because it took the worst game of Sam Darnold's career for them to lose by 2. So that's, to
I
me,
wouldn't say the worst of his career, but we're worse as a Seahawk for sure.
I mean, it was definitely the worst as a Seahawk. It might have been worse than the game he was seeing ghosts in.
I don't know about
But
that, but we'll see.
he did tie a career high with 4 picks, so it was a ridiculous game from him. And then the Philadelphia Eagles. Not a lot of people are going to like this, but they have the best winning resume of anybody. Let's name some of the teams they beat. They just most recently beat the Lions. They beat the Chiefs, the Rams, the Buccaneers. I think there's another good win that I'm missing as well. But they
Beat the
have
Packers.
they beat the Packers. That's 5 quality wins, and I believe there might be a 6, but there's definitely 5 playoff teams that they've now beaten, some Super Bowl caliber teams. So the Eagles have a fantastic winning resume. They deserve credit. And then the Colts and the Patriots are my last 2 A teams. Both have been fantastic contenders out of the AFC. I give the Patriots a little more credit just because I think their success is more sustainable because of the quarterback play. I think it's better to have a good quarterback in the playoffs than a good running back in the playoffs. So, but both teams have done fantastic. I like what I see out of both of them. I think both can compete for the Super Bowl.
Getting into my A tier, these are the people that, these are your honor roll students. They deserve their flowers for how well they've performed. Unfortunately, I have to put the Eagles at an A. I say unfortunately as a Giants fan, not because I want to move them higher. But the Eagles, and I mean, as much as I hate to say it, they have got quality wins. They have been performing well. They've kind of figured out that offensive struggle for the most part that they had at the start of the season. So they've kind of gotten most of the weeds out of their system. All things considered, I'd put them at an A. I want to talk about this team in a minute, but we'll get to that. The Bears, I have them at an A. They've been performing really well all season, especially since week about 4 or 5. The Panthers, you mentioned them earlier. I had less expectations, so they're blowing it out of the water more. So therefore, I have them at an A. The Colts, Rams, I have those two at A, not A plus, which we'll get to that in a split second. But Colts and Rams, both kind of have similar seasons where, except with very different teams. One of them is much more offensive heavy. One of them is a little more defensive and still has the offense, and the other one still has the defense. It's just they're kind of the same team flip flop. We saw these two play. I have the Rams higher, it technically, if you want to get technical, because they beat the Colts, but otherwise they're about the same team to me.
All right. Now getting into our A plus teams, which is for us the best team in the NFL through the opening weeks. For me, the A plus team, the best of the best, is the LA Rams. The Rams, to me, I think they're no doubt the best team in the league right now. They just came off a big win against the Seahawks where they forced Darnold into 4 interceptions. I think a lot of those picks were just Darnold misreading the field, but at the same time they put pressure on him, forced him in those mistakes. So I think it says a lot about the Rams. And when you actually take a look at what they've done this year, their 2 losses, one of them was because of a blocked kick against the Eagles, and another was because of a fumble at the 1 yard line. I mean, they are two pretty unfortunate plays away from being 11-0. So for me, they are the best team, and they are more than deserving of an A plus.
Yeah, I contemplated putting them there. They were the team I was considering, but ultimately I ended up going with the New England Patriots. I think the Patriots are honestly, and I hate saying this, the most well-rounded team right now. Their wins, although maybe not the most quality, all of them, they're consistent. They've beaten good teams the same. They've beaten bad teams the same. There is never a game where they're like, oh, they're close and then they're far apart. Like every game, they decisively win it, and if they lose in style. So. And they only lost twice, and they were both in the first 3 weeks of the season. Um, so all things considered, I would put the Patriots as the A plus. I think they are heavily being carried by their defense and Drake May, but that is not something that I'm going to squander at. I think they deserve the flowers, and as the A plus team.
Wow. All right. Well, so I think it's fair that we give that both of us get a chance to make one complaint about the other's great book.
One
So
complaint. Okay.
yeah, one thing that we highly disagree
Open
with.
fire.
If I had to take a look at your great book, um, look, I talked about them earlier. The Denver Broncos deserve their flowers. Giving them anything less than an A when they have the 1 seed right now, and they're tied for the 1 seed. They just came off beating their arch nemesis, the Kansas City Chiefs. And look, I agree they have not looked good this year. I've been the biggest proponent of that. But I feel like you have to give them an A and have to give them credit for what they've done.
I'm not gonna argue you. I'm just gonna if that's honestly what you think, that is your
No
grade.
rebuttal.
No, I have no rebuttal. That is your grade. I told you. I think this team, a 9-2 team that hasn't really had a convincing win, in my opinion, is skeptical. They remind me of the
Oh
Steelers
my
from
gosh.
five
So
years ago.
beating a dynasty by
I
3 points is not a convincing win.
half the half the teams that have played them have beat this dynasty this season. That says nothing to me. As much as I'm high on the Chiefs too. The one criticism I have with yours, more than I guess anything, I can't put the Vikings at a D considering they're still in playoff contention right now. This is me being nitpicky. I think generally yours are pretty good, but the Vikings being at a D just feels a little disrespectful. Although, if JJ McCarthy throws another 9 interceptions, then
Yeah.
I might have to consider dropping them myself. But
I don't know. It's just for me, a team that had 14 wins last year and now they're technically in the playoffs, but I think we can both agree they're not
they're
going to make them
not.
this year. I think it's a bad look. So I see what you're saying. I did notice that in our list there's a lot of discrepancy between the Vikings, but I can't give them credit for what they've done.
We'll see. We'll see. I mean, again, it'll depend how their season ends. I didn't have as high expectations because I wasn't as high on JJ McCarthy personally.
Mm.
Kind of looking around here, something caught my eye. from this past week. Hold on. I have a pair of jeans on. Let me just take out the belt real quick and go some
Yo,
BTA real quick because
oh, I thought you
I
actually had a
gotta.
belt for us.
No actual. But I do have jeans on. But no, I do not have an actual belt for you. But I do
Oh,
have some
okay.
BTA. Don't worry. I wasn't gonna tease you on that front. You know, I need to ask you a question in my BTA. In fact, it's less of me giving you the belt, more me handing it to you. You want to know why?
Oh, why are you
What
handing
was
me the
your
belt?
biggest criticism before the season started? Me and you talked about it personally about the Bengals.
The defense?
Well, their other biggest criticism. I'm looking at a certain position, a certain player. Does it have to do with a certain injury-prone quarterback? Does his name happen to be
Joe
Joe Burrow?
Burrow?
Does his name happen to be Joe Burrow? So look at this team without him on the field, right? They can put up points one week and the next week they don't do anything. I never know what I'm getting with this team. The one thing with Joe Burrow is he's consistent, but their losses never seem to happen from the quarterback position, which is why I'm giving them the belt. Because the excuse that Joe Burrow not being on the field is why you're losing games is mind-boggling to me. Half of these games could easily have been won with Joe Flacco when you had Jake Browning in the game, or even when Burrow went down in the middle of that game against Jacksonville when they did win. All these games were winnable for the most part. I see no reason to be falling this far behind. Their defense is terrible. Their offensive line is terrible. Their weapons can't create separation anymore. Their running backs just can't get ground game going. They've been better the past couple weeks, but still not great. All things considered, I'm just not blown away by this. That's the BTA is less about how the Steelers beat them and more about how the Bengals are beating themselves.
Wow. I like it. I like it. All I have to say is SpongeBob SquarePants. The first time that he took his driver's test and failed it, the excuses were he's young, he's a rookie. It's just his first time, he's just taking it through a Sunday drive. He'll get better. Second time he fails it, it's like, okay, whatever, it's his second time. We just got to lock in, study more, get stuff done, maybe build a better car around him. You know what I mean? Maybe. And then we get to the third time,
I see where this is
fails the
going.
test again. Well, the brakes aren't very good. The steering wheel's off. Like, I don't know. He's just not being given a chance. Then we get to the sixth time that he's taken this test and failed it. What are the excuses going to be? Are his are the brakes still not working? We've been addressing this for 6 years. Oh, the windshield's kind of blurry. The rearview mirror's off. We got to fix everything. Maybe we need to look at who's in the driver's seat and maybe put a little blame on them. Justin Herbert and the LA Chargers. How can we
Wow.
go 6 seasons into this Justin Herbert project and still not have this figured out? I have been a major Justin Herbert defender my entire life watching football. I love Justin Herbert. I think he's an immensely talented quarterback. But 80 passing yards. I don't care who your tackles are. You can put Parker Merrey, Mekhi Winfrey at left tackle and right tackle, and Justin Herbert should be able to put up more than 80 passing yards. That is the most embarrassing loss that I've ever seen out of a quarterback. I'm not just handing this BTA to the team. I'm handing it specifically to Justin
Wow.
Herbert.
That's a
This
specific
is
one.
unacceptable.
A
I mean, we
player
are
BTA.
6 years into this. This cannot be happening in the Justin Herbert project. So credit to the Jacksonville Jaguars, but this is an embarrassing BTA from Justin Herbert. And so he gets it. How about you do it this week? Go for it.
Does he get a little bit of a BTA?
Yes, he does.
That'll conclude BTA this week. Chargers get the belt, specifically Justin Herbert. The Bengals, and specifically everybody besides Joe Burrow, get the belt this week. So those things seemingly stay the same as they never change. But moving along here, I actually want to go back to the Bengals for a moment. The Bengals, I have this interesting theory, right, for you. I have a feeling the Bengals just are reliant on one player their entire existence, not even just with Joe Burrow. When you look at the 2010s teams, who was their main guy? It was AJ Green.
Mm-hmm.
Everything, how the quarterback played with Andy Dalton, how the rest of the team, the offense handled themselves, how their defense would play based on how the offense was playing, all revolved around AJ Green. Go back even before that, it was Chad Johnson. Go back before it. Just go through the most recent history of the Bengals, which was already a historically not great franchise. This is the result. They have been reliant on one player to try and just move the boat along. And now with Burrow out, they look at Jamar Chase, and now he's suspended for a game because he's spit. I don't even know. I didn't watch the video, to be honest with you. I have no idea if he actually did or didn't spit
Oh, he
on Jalen.
definitely
He
spit.
did?
There
Okay.
was definitely fluids that came out of that man's mouth.
So the whole thing with Jalen Ramsey, unacceptable from somebody who's supposed to be the leader on that team, especially the offense. It's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. I mean, that's stuff that coaching should be talking about. Like, why is that allowed to happen? That should be something that the front office is dealing with. What the consensus thing about the Bengals has always been they're dysfunctional, right? Even when they made the Super Bowl, what was the main thing? The coaching, right? Dysfunctionality of the team. It still lacks. It's still right there. It's evident. We've been saying it for years. I've never been a believer in Zach Taylor. I don't think that he's a great coach. I think he should be fired after the season. If you really want to make Burrow want to stay, make a change that will actually affect the offense or the defense at that. I don't know. I don't. This Bengals team is like every year it's a new storyline with them. It's oh well, will they are they going to get back to the AFC title game to the Super Bowl? Oh, are they going to make the playoffs this year? Oh, can they make this big comeback? Oh, can they do it without Burrow? Why do we need to have all these? Why can't they just be the team that everyone's like, oh, this is going to be a good team in the future? They're not. They're not. They have one playoff appearance since that Super Bowl appearance. One. One. That's embarrassing. And we've
Yeah,
had
I
we've
mean,
had 3 seasons.
yeah, I mean, so the thing with the Cincinnati Bengals for me is simply management. I think the front office has done a ridiculous job at managing this team. You have a superstar quarterback, you have a superstar receiver in Jamar Chase. You pay those two guys, and then you build a team around him. You don't go pay for guys like I love T. Higgins, but giving him the contract that was given to him, I'm just not sure if doubling up on receiver like that is the move when we have other positions that are more at play here. You know what I mean? We need to build up this offensive line. We need to protect Burrow because he's getting hurt every year. We need to build up this defense because it was historically bad last year, and they made no big changes to it through the offseason, and it's bad again this year. It's just a perpetual loop of bad GMing, bad coaching, as well with Zach Taylor. And I think to me that this is a case of a franchise getting lucky. They got so lucky that the year Joe Burrow was available, they get the number one pick. You know what I mean? That could have easily been any of the
If it
other
was the
31.
Chargers, if it was the Chargers, like you talked about, I think the Chargers have made the playoffs, won to an AFC title game, probably won the Super Bowl, maybe, maybe.
Wow.
I,
So you
I,
think
I
Burrow's that
honestly,
much better than Herbert?
I think the gap from 4 to 5 in the NFL right now is huge. I genuinely think any of the top 4 quarterbacks on a competent team that didn't run into Kansas City,
Yeah.
like I think they'd be in the Super Bowl and won it. I honestly, I even look at the games. I don't mean to stray away from the Bengals, but look at Allen in those games against with the Bills. When has when has their loss in the playoffs ever been really on Allen? Like you could think of
I mean,
plays,
the
right?
the
Like
year
there's
they
been
lost to the Bengals was kind of
no,
bad,
well,
but
no, but to the
none
Chiefs,
of the
I mean,
Chiefs' losses were
that's
bad.
what I mean. Like, yeah, there's moments in the game, but generally he plays his game, right? Lamar, he has maybe a moment. He had that one bad pick, I remember, but generally plays a great game. Joe Burrow plays a great game. All of these teams, though, especially the Bills and Bengals, two historically just dysfunctional franchises, unacceptable, especially from the Bengals front. You have the superstar quarterback, and you're not surrounding him with anything to work with except for 2 receivers who now can't create separation because that's the only 2 things the team has to guard. I don't
Yeah,
know.
and I think it
Unacceptable.
was yeah, and it was also a bad the spitting thing this whole week was a
Oh,
ridiculous
yeah.
look for Jamar Chase. When I see something like that, I know it's probably not the right thing to do, but I instinctually look at the head coach and go, "Your players are spitting on other players. This is on you." And I know that's not the right thing to do, because Zach Taylor didn't go and spit on Jalen Ramsey. It was Jamar Chase, but it's just an undefendable action from both of them, I believe. And it's even more embarrassing. Did you see the interview where Jamar Chase denied it? He's like, I
No,
didn't
I
spit on him.
didn't do it. All right, no. Come on.
Like, but there
Just own
is
up to it.
video evidence. What are we doing?
Just own
But
up to it.
it's just an embarrassment overall right now.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, look, at the end of it, to end my point here, the Bengals could do a million different things to make their offensive star power better. That's great and all. You're Look at the Rams. If you're gonna go all in with that stuff, go all in. Trade your picks. Trade everything that you need to so you can get the pieces around you to go win the Super Bowl now. Because clearly Joe Burrow is getting hurt every year. So if that has to be, so you have to pay all these people for 1 year to go make it happen, then go do that. So I don't know. That's how I feel about that. But you, you talk about about bad performances and bad moments. You want to talk about a certain player in Seattle?
Oh no. Look, coming into this weekend, I said that we would have a historic game. We would have a historic timeline be written into the history books. You know, before JSN, after JSN. I think
Stupid.
instead what we got was before Sam Darnold Pumpkin versus after Sam Darnold Pumpkin.
That's a bit of a stretch.
Look, I thought I was going into the game, with before the JSN breakout game, but actually I was going in and saw whatever it was I saw on Sunday. Sam Darnold. I think the question that I'm going to pose to you, and I'm going to actually pose to myself as well, so both of us can answer. Is this a sign of things to come?
No,
Is this Sam Darnold reverting back to his old ways, or is this just a bad game?
bad game. It's just a bad game. I'm inclined to believe it's just a bad game. Going into pumpkin mode would to me mean that you have multiple weeks in a row where you just look terrible, like from looking great to terrible. Sam Darnold even last year he had, and I remember specifically around this time in that season, he had a game like this where he just looked terrible. And everyone was like, "Oh, he's hitting pumpkin mode. He's hitting pumpkin mode." And then right before the
I think it
playoffs,
was the Jets game.
yeah, and then he kind of kicked it back into
Pretty awful
gear.
against them.
He kind of kicked it back into gear. So I'm not worried about Sam Darnold personally.
Here's my problem with Sam Darnold. As I'm of course a Seahawks fan, if the fans don't know by now. Um, Last year, over the last few years with Geno Smith, my most toxic trait of sports fandom was defending Geno, giving him praise no matter what it was. If he did something bad, I would blame it on the offensive line. But now that Geno is in Las Vegas and he's making the same mistakes in Vegas but worse, I'm able to kind of see it from a different perspective and go, okay, more things were Geno's fault than I thought. And so I feel like I need to be really careful with the way I view Sam Darnold this year. I'm not just going to defend him over everything that happens. And so I have to look at this game objectively. Last year, the two biggest games of the year were against the Detroit Lions in Week 18 for the division and for their season in the wild card round against the Rams. In both of those games, Sam Darnold was inaccurate and throwing picks. He just was not looking good. In fact, I don't know if you saw this. He had a pick against LA in the wild card round that was quite literally an identical pick to what he threw with Seattle today, a couple days
I
ago,
did see
where
that.
it was a route to the sidelines and the receiver was barely open, but then the DB came up to jump it, threw the exact same pick twice. And to me, that's just like, it's almost ironic. It's like he doesn't learn from his mistakes. He sees pressure and thinks that he can make these tight window throws that sometimes you just got to dirt it. I don't know if you saw all four of his interceptions. The last one he had it actually cost them the game. They were in field goal range on third and medium. He has a chance to just throw the ball to the ground, kick a field goal, and now you're only down 6. And obviously they went on to score a touchdown. So that would have won them the game in theory. Instead, he jumps up into the air and throws it to a linebacker. I mean, it's just the decision making is just not there right now. And so when he continues to do this against every good team that puts pressure in his face, I'm gonna doubt Darnold until I'm proven wrong. If he can go against the Rams later in the year, or he goes against somebody in the playoffs like the Rams or the Lions or the Eagles or anybody good, and he balls out, then I'm officially a Sam Darnold believer. But right now, I can't be.
We'll see. I don't know. I'm gonna say this though. Aside from the Rams and Lions games last year, he looked good. Like he generally looked good. So I
Same
mean,
this year.
that's my point.
He's not had a despite he's had a lot of turnovers this year. Almost none of them have been his fault. The Rams game was his first bad game of the whole year.
So that's my point. So like I'm saying like maybe the Rams are just a team that has his number. It's possible. It's happened in the NFL before. I think of Brady. Oh my God, I can't. I'm now forgetting the team. There was a team that just Brady just could not be consistent
I
against.
mean,
He
the
won.
Broncos.
Yeah, he won. Like he wasn't like losing to them all the time, but they had his number. They was a pretty even game. So um,
But did he ever throw 4 picks?
no, but Sam
I don't
Darnold's
think
also
he ever had a
Sam
four
Sam
interception
Darnold's
game.
not Tom Brady. So like, that's all my
I know,
point is.
but
But either I don't
yes,
know.
you can't make the comparison. A 4 interception game is not just a bad game; it is a horrific game. For a lot of quarterbacks, it would be the worst game of their career. But Sam Darnold had,
The infamous
apparently 2 games in the
seeing
past with 4 picks. One where he was seeing ghosts, and I don't know the other one, but it's not. I need to see it to believe it with Darnold, and I've seen him play great all year. All year he's been great. The moment he gets in a big pressure situation, every time he's crumbled so far. So I'm not going to believe it until I see him because he's yet to play. I guess the Green Bay game last year, where they beat them super late into the season to kind of like make it to where it was between them and the Lions. That was a big game. But even then, he was not perfect. So I need to see performances down the line.
unfortunately, there's nothing else but time that can tell us that. Um, you know, I actually have. I kind of moving the train here. I have two things in front of me. I have a red pill. I don't know if you can see it on the camera here. I got a red pill and I have a blue pill. Let me try to get the camera to catch it. I got a red pill and a blue pill,
Oh,
right?
okay.
So
I'm getting hungry.
you're getting hungry. So this red pill right here is the off season. This blue pill right here is the regular season and the playoffs. This is the Bears for every year. Look at what pill is left. That's the pill that's left. So you don't know what the Bears decided they were going to do this season. They ate the blue one. They ate the
Oh,
blue one. You know why?
let's go.
They started the season slow, right? I was one of their biggest haters because I was like, well, this team, they took Ben Johnson. I've been all this hype about this team going to take a huge step. And while I don't think they've played fantastic on offense, I didn't buy into it. But they play to their opponent. And that's kind of been their strength this season, if anything, honestly. They have been consistent. Everything they do, it feels like they're just destined to win the game once they're down. I don't know why. They'll go down as long as it's between like 3 and 10 points. They'll make a comeback. I don't know why. I couldn't tell you, but every time they just refuse to lose. They haven't lost a game since what, week 5, right? I think it's something close to
So they
that.
started out 0-2, and then
They
I'm
won and then
trying to
they
remember
lost and
who
then
was
they
their third loss to.
Cowboys.
Yes,
They
yes,
did.
that's right. That
So
was
yeah.
week 5.
So they because they had the bye week too. So then yeah. So then they went. They've been on a win streak for the past like 7 weeks now. So I don't know. I'm not buying into a playoff run or anything. That's not what I'm saying. But this is a team that it can be dangerous. They're finally not becoming off-season champs and trying to become NFC North champions. I want your thoughts on that though, because obviously that's the best division in football. To most people, right? There's the
Yeah.
Packers, the Lions, there's the Bears, and then the Vikings, who have a talented roster. So all things considered, the Bears have now they've beaten the Vikings, so now they have to play the Lions again later this season. They have to play the Packers. So what do you think?
Okay, so to me, there's a few teams that fit into the are they contenders or are they frauds category. Colts, Patriots, Seahawks, and now Bears. And I guess you could throw in teams like the Panthers, the
On a
Jags.
lesser scale, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So if I were to make a decision on the Bears, do I think they're contenders or frauds? I'll say this: they're not contenders. I can't call them frauds necessarily, but um, the fact that they cannot beat a team convincingly is a little bit concerning because I think I again I'm a big proponent of winning close games. But when you're doing it every single week, it is a little bit concerning. And it's not like the Bears are in the driver's seat. When you look at the Eagles, everyone says, "Oh, the Eagles always play close games." They led the entire game against the Lions. They were in the driver's seat. They had control of the game. They were really never going to lose the game unless the Lions started converting some fourth downs. The Chicago Bears have really not been in the driver's seat for much of these games. They controlled the Bengals game for most of it, and then kind of lost
There's
control
the
later.
whole end of that game. I mean, that's a thing.
Yeah,
Whatever.
they did not have control over the Giants. It took a Jackson Dart injury for them to win that game. I believe that if Jackson Dart stays in that game, they lose to the Giants. Cam Scattaboo-less Giants, by the way, and I think that was Brian Daboll's last game.
It was.
To put into perspective, how how bad of a game that was for the Giants, it was the straw that broke the camel's back on the Brian Daboll firing. You know what I mean? That was his last game, got him fired. So that win says a lot about how bad the Giants coaching was. So I'm not yet sold on the Bears. Um, but guess what? We're going to find out because in their remaining games of the season, they play the Packers twice, they play the Steelers, they play the Lions, they play the Eagles. So if they go out and go 1-4 or 0-5 in those games, that's going to prove my point. But if they go out and they're like 3-2, they're not only are they in the playoffs, but they're a real contender. But I'm not ready to believe yet on the Bears.
They're trying to right the wrong of the double doink from however long ago. It'd be really
Well,
funny to me
yeah,
because if you I don't know if you've seen this parallel yet. There's parallels between those teams. 2017 and 2024, Bears get a top end pick, and trade up to get a top end pick, and they take a quarterback as their pick, Trubisky, Williams. First year was rough, right? Then in the next season, they draft another piece trying to build to a team. They make a change at coaching. They're trying to make all these adjustments, right? So they get a really good defense. So now they have hype going into the season. They are the off-season champs again, right? And then it's 2018 and 2025. They start the season a little slow, but then they start beating some teams that are real competitive towards down the stretch. They win the division. They have a chance at making a deep playoff run. They won 11, 12 games. And, well, let's see how the rest of the story ends. But I'm just saying we know how the double doink ended. So I just
yeah,
wanted to throw
yeah.
that out
It
there.
didn't that again.
But I don't know. You have any other stories you want to talk about?
I think a game that we absolutely have to touch on, maybe the biggest game of the week, at least the one that will go down with the most playoff implications, the Denver Broncos and the Kansas City Chiefs.
Ooh,
Look, Patrick Mahomes' record against the Broncos coming into this game was staggering. I think he's only lost to them once.
once.
Yeah. Literally, I think it was 15-1. 15-1 was the stat. Whatever it was a ridiculous stat. The only time in recent memory that the Broncos have beat the Chiefs was when the Chiefs were resting all their starters last year. The Broncos have never beaten them, whether it's ever since they drafted Mahomes, they have not been beating them. And so coming into this game with the Chiefs needing a win to stay above 500, keeping their playoff hopes alive, the Broncos kind of feeling like they're due for a loss with all the close games they've been winning lately, whether it be the Jets, the Giants, the Raiders. I mean, it just felt like, the loss is banging on the door and the Broncos are going to have to answer it pretty soon. And we thought the Kansas City Chiefs was a perfect time, but that was not the case. They won, and it is one of the most impressive wins that a team has had this year, at least in my opinion. As I've mentioned multiple times in this show, and as you've seen multiple times in recent shows, I like the Denver Broncos this year. I don't think they're great, but this is a massive win. And I have to ask you, are the Chiefs in trouble?
No. No team, no team with Patrick Mahomes at quarterback, and there's still being enough games to make the playoffs is in trouble. I'm just, I can't go on record and say, oh, the Chiefs are done. They're in trouble. But no, no, they are still a team floating around 500 with 6 games left in the season. They can go and make 7 games even. I don't know if they've had their bye, honestly, off the top of my head. But they got about, no joke intended, 6 or 7 games left in the season. Um, so I tend to believe, especially with their schedule, that they can go and win those games. Their hardest game that they have left is probably the one coming up, though, which we'll get to in a moment. But it's going to be their biggest test, I think, if they want to get themselves back to the top of the AFC at any point this season. They're going to have to win that game. But I don't think the Chiefs are in trouble. I think they're honestly a team. I hate saying this. They're a team that feels like you can't be beaten when it comes down to it mattering. As for the Broncos, though, I will say it is a little impressive the fact that their wins are now against the Eagles and Chiefs, both teams that were in the Super Bowl last season. So I do need to throw that out there.
Okay, so I disagree with you. I think the Chiefs are in trouble, and
Really?
I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you exactly why. The Kansas City Chiefs right now are 5-5. If they win, I'll give it to you this way. If they have 6 games left, or sorry, they have 7 games left. If they win 5 out of those games, guess what their playoff percentage is?
Like, I don't know, like maybe 60?
50%. If they go 5-2 in their last 7 games, they have a 50% chance of making it. That means if they lose to the Colts and the Broncos, it's a coin flip whether they make the playoffs or not. That to me is a very real situation. And let's say they lose to the Colts, the Broncos, and the Chargers. Guess what their percentage of making the
And it
playoffs
drops to
is?
like what, 35, 30, 40.
9. They will not make the playoffs if they lose 3 games. They
Wow.
have to go 5-2 to make the playoffs without a miracle. So if they lose, they play 3 pretty good teams in the Chargers, Broncos, and Colts. If they don't win one of those games, they're out of it.
We'll
So
s-
I am worried about they need to be almost flawless the rest of the year if they're going to make it.
we'll see. I don't know. I'm inclined to believe that Mahomes can make this happen. It's just I'm not even like a. I should clarify. I'm not even like a Chiefs fan. I don't. I'm not. I root against them. Part of me hopes that they don't make this happen. I want to see somebody new. But I'm also a realist, and I'm at being a realist, it is more likely than not they will figure it out. Um, Even in the year that I think what was it, 22, where they had all of those defensive struggles, they were like, at one point they were like, I feel like 3-6, maybe 3-5.
Yeah, 2021 they were 4-5 at one
Yeah,
point.
so like things have been worse for them, honestly. So I think they can make this work. They'll make it happen. I don't know if they'll come back to the division. I think that's a pretty insurmountable feat, to be honest with you. But I think they can easily get to a wild card spot. I think that is very doable. So that's where I stand on that.
Yeah, I think the Broncos pretty much made it a 2-man race for the division between them and the Chargers. If
A
anything,
dying
with the
Chargers
Chargers
team.
injuries, I think they might have clinched the division this week with
I'd
a
say the
win.
Chiefs are actually closer to it than the Chargers, just because the Chargers are just I feel like a dying team. The Chiefs are just on their last leg.
Yeah, I could see that. Here's another concern I have with the Chiefs. Coming into this game, I thought that the only way the Broncos beat the Chiefs is if they just put together a great defensive game. But instead, what we got late game heroics out of Bo Nix. We got third down conversions, the 3rd and 15 at the end of the game, to keep the drive alive, and then drives them down and they get the field goal. The most shocking part to me is that Bo Nix, this quarterback that me and the rest of the media have been so hard on, just went in and outplayed the best quarterback
You,
in the league. Not only did he outplay him, but Patrick Mahomes had a ridiculous game. I mean, he was awful. I just, I am there are serious concerns about the Kansas City Chiefs. This is the first time this year where I'm not sure if they're going to make the playoffs. They might not.
you told me a funny joke. I don't remember the exact context to it, but you said Bo Nix chooses each week when he wakes up if he wants to play, like, I don't know, for example, if he wants to play like Drew Brees or Nathan Peterman. He chooses one each week. And I thought that was funny because I think about it. I'm like, he chose to be Drew Brees this week. I will give him credit. He played a great game. Their defense, though, I want to say, they still held the Chiefs to 19. Let's not act like the Broncos defense played poor or not even or even mediocre. Holding a team to 19 points gives you a real chance to win a game. It's 3 touchdowns. So the Broncos did their job, both offensively and defensively. I think that's why they won. I think their win is more on the Chiefs issues than it is the Broncos performing, to be honest with you. But
Yeah, I mean, I think it says a lot about the Broncos defense that Patrick Mahomes comes in with MVP numbers. The Chiefs offense comes in with above average stats and pretty good stats in some offensive categories. And they held them to 19, which is good enough to obviously win the game. I think it was a great performance from the Broncos defense, great performance from Bo Nix. Not a great statistical performance for Bo Nix, but he made all the clutch big plays when he had to keep the game alive. So it's I got to give the Broncos their flowers. I know Broncos fans have been waiting for something good on this show instead of just constant harassment and fraud alerts. Are they on fraud alert for me? They're still on there. There's fraud's a 5-letter word and they fit 4.5 out of those 5 letters. You know what I
we
mean?
haven't put
Last week they fit all 5.
we
Now they're
haven't
going down.
we've taken half of the D out.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
so we go. I'm gonna move us
No,
on.
I can't take half the D out because the Broncos defense is so good. Let's take
Oh
half the
yeah,
F out.
yeah. Let's take half the F out. So they're no
Yeah.
longer failing, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Uh,
there you go.
so we enter week 12 this week. I need to get your predictions headed into this game, specifically, and a lot of these games, of course. All these games. I don't know why I'm like wording it like there's gonna be one game and we're not gonna talk about the other whatever we're playing, but let's just get into it. instead of me sounding like an idiot. Let's go. Thursday night, the Bills head to Houston to play the Texans. I'm going to take the Bills here.
Yeah, I'm also going to take Buffalo. This is a massive game for the Texans, a home game where they kind of need to win to keep their playoff hopes alive. Um, it- I do see the Bills picking this one up. I think they're a little bit better right now. They're riding the wave of momentum after beating teams like the Chiefs and the Bucks.
You know, you mentioned the Chiefs. I actually have no comment on that. I think you said it perfectly. But I, I have. You mentioned the Chiefs going into Arrowhead this week is the Colts. The Colts play the Chiefs on the road, and I think it's a recipe for disaster for Daniel Jones. I am going to take Kansas City here to take a win over the Colts and kind of rip the heart out of Indiana fans.
We're in absolute agreement. This is a must-win game for the Kansas City Chiefs, and I think they do. I think they do get it done. They just need it more than the Colts. Let's be real. They need it more. I think they're a better football team than the Colts. It kind of feels like a bad matchup for Daniel Jones. It feels like Spags is just going to come after him and destroy him. So I like the Chiefs in this one.
And the Chiefs having a really solid run defense kind of eliminates some of Jonathan Taylor's ability. Seattle gets, I don't want to say a freebie week, but they get what you would think would be an easy get back win here. They go to Tennessee to play the Titans this week. I'm obviously taking Seattle in this one.
Let me get something.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. He's gonna do the whole
I'm
bit.
playing.
He's
I'm
gonna.
not. It's the Tennessee Titans. I can't get an Njigba jersey for that. I'm kidding. I'm not going to do that. Maybe in a couple weeks when they play the Colts.
Stealing from a baby, man. Like, I mean,
Yeah, I look. I can't do that. So I'm taking Seattle in this one. The jersey cannot be brought out.
yeah, no, that's like stealing from a baby. I mean, you know what isn't though? I wouldn't feel bad if either team won this game. So Minnesota is headed to Lambeau to play the Packers. The Vikings need to win. The Packers also kind of need to win, to be honest. However, being it in Lambeau, and being that I'm not a McCarthy fan or a supporter or believer, give me Green Bay. The Packers are going to win this game and kind of put a separation between them and the Vikings.
Yeah, I got Green Bay in this one as well. No disagreements on that.
I'm sure this will be game of the week. I'm partly kidding. I'm actually fully kidding. The Jets go to Baltimore to play the Ravens. I actually think this game will be kind of interesting. I'm interested to see what the Jets do because they actually were kind of on a roll. I don't even think they lost that bad to New England, in all things considered. But I'm still going to take the Ravens here. They're on a hot streak, and they are desperately trying to catch the Steelers, who they are actually not that far behind.
Baltimore.
That's Grant. You're just saying Baltimore. There's no real.
Yeah, nothing further. The Jets don't deserve
just
consideration.
Baltimore. Got it. Okay. They're still on BTA from like 4 weeks ago when they played the Broncos. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a slaughter here. Okay, let's get this over with. Going to Detroit is the Giants. Lions.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Detroit on this one, but I will say this is not a good matchup for Jared Goff. The Giants create incredible interior pressure with Dexter Lawrence, who I assume is playing. Right?
Yes. I'm
Okay.
all but sure.
If he gets injured, the game is over. But if he's in the game, they have a chance. But Lions are winning it.
Pittsburgh is headed to Chicago. These are two teams that, well, for one reason or another, depending on who you're asking, have history. More so from the quarterback. It depends if Aaron Rodgers is playing, though. He has a broken wrist, but all I'm hearing is that Aaron Rodgers doesn't want to lose to the Bears. So I don't know. We'll see if he decides he's gonna trump out on that field. But either way, I don't think that the Steelers are going to take another loss. I think this is actually going to be an upset game. I'm going to take the Steelers to win in Soldier Field.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to take the Steelers in this one as well. The Bears kind of feel like a team that's due for a loss, especially with how close they've been playing their rivals lately. So I like the Steelers in this one.
Okay, you're going to call me crazy for this, but I want you to bear with me on this opinion. I'm putting this next game on upset alert. New England is going into Cincinnati here. Now,
oh my gosh!
no. I need you to hear me out on this. I talked about it earlier, how all dysfunctional the Bengals are, right? They are in must-win territory now, right? Because the whole idea is that by the time Burrow gets back, like week 16, you need to be in contention for the playoffs. The Bengals have to win this game in order to do that. I don't think they will. I'm going to pick New England, but I wouldn't be terribly shocked if on a trap game where the Patriots have a big win streak going, the Bengals need to win in Cincinnati. I wouldn't be terribly surprised, but I'm going to take the Patriots.
I firmly believe that without Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow, the Bengals are the worst team in the league. You would have to fact check me on this, but if I had to guess, those players probably take up about 30-40% of the Bengals cap space. So I think with both of them out,
Two of
I
the
think they're
three
just
between
they have no
I would
chance.
say
They have no chance.
between
Yeah,
them and T Higgins. I
Hendricks.
don't
Yeah.
know. So,
Oh, Higgins. Yeah.
um,
Yeah. I don't think they have any chance. Give me the Patriots in this one.
this game is going to be the worst game of the week. We have Cleveland headed into Vegas. They play the Browns and the Raiders. I actually am going to take the Browns on this one. I think they're going to really give Geno Smith some troubles.
Yeah, I actually agree. I got the Browns on this one. Thanks.
Jaguars play the Cardinals in Arizona. Arizona is in a long slide, a long slide of just bad performances. I know they have the one win over there against Dallas, but otherwise they have looked pretty rough. I think Jacksonville really needs to keep winning to keep themselves as a heavy favorite for a wild card spot. I think they'll do just that with a win this week.
Is Kyler on IR still?
He's not gonna get taken off IR. I don't know for sure, but I don't think he's gonna get taken off IR. So I
Okay,
believe Jacoby's.
then okay, I think it'll be a little closer than some may
It's
think,
just
but
bait.
give me the Jags to win
I'm not even interacting with it. It's just straight up bait.
it.
Um, this is my upset of the week here. Philadelphia is walking into Dallas, and I'm going to take the Cowboys.
Whoa!
Cowboys are on a hot
Wow!
streak. They're playing great offensively. They almost beat Philadelphia in the season opener. I think they're going to do it this time, especially at AT&T Stadium.
I could absolutely see that. I agree. It's upset alert. I like the Eagles though. I'm not sure if the Cowboys can do that.
I just feel like the Eagles are playing a little close for my liking against teams that are better than the Cowboys, and plus it being a division rival, I'm going to take Dallas here. I like in a perfect world for me, Dallas wins one game, Philly wins one game in the season, and they both are the ones where they beat each other once. That would be a perfect scenario for me, but obviously
Mm-hmm.
I can't have nice
I
things.
might have gone for Dallas, but since you did, I didn't want to
Oh,
agree with you. So
he just wants to disagree with me. So okay. Got to make it more interesting for you guys apparently or something like that.
yeah.
The the Falcons play the Saints in New Orleans this week. I'm actually going to take the Saints here, which I know sounds
Oh
kind
my
of crazy, but I feel like the Saints are due to win one of those two games. So, sure, give me New Orleans.
I don't know. I got the Falcons winning this
I
one, even
frankly
though
don't care, but like,
yeah, in an earlier BTA segment donked on Kirk Cousins, who is going to have to step up this week with the Penix injury. But I think the Falcons are going to win this one. I just think they have so much more talent than the Saints.
I got scared for a second that was going to be Sunday Night Football. I only saw one more game and then my thing loaded. Thankfully, that's not Sunday Night Football. Sunday Night Football is the Bucks playing the Rams in LA. This is the biggest game of the season to this point, in my opinion. Um, the
The
Bucks
biggest game of the season.
to this point, in my opinion, honestly, because I think for me it's the Bucks trying to turn their losses around, and for me it's the Rams trying to establish themselves as the top team in the NFC. Like this would solidify it to me if they win this game. Which do I think
I
will
think last
happen?
week.
I just I don't know, man. I just tend to believe. I'm actually torn. I'm torn. I originally I had a really confident answer, but now that I think about it, I'm like really sitting here torn. Actually believe that the Rams are going to lose or are going to win this game. Excuse me. I think the Bucks are going to take another loss. I think you'll hear my prediction in a moment for the other game.
All right. So for me, I think the Rams already played the biggest game of the season, and that was versus Seattle last week, and they won that game. So they already won what I think was the most important game, and I think they're going to win what you think is the most important game against the Bucks.
I don't know. That just says more about the Rams to me than anything else. So that tells me how good they are. Monday Night Football, the Panthers head to San Francisco to play the 49ers. Can they pull off what would be a immaculate upset? And actually, in this case, if we're both right, would take the division lead.
Yeah, that would
No.
be kind of
No, it won't
yeah.
happen. I want to give hope. I actually am hopeful, but I'm going to go with San Francisco here. The 49ers are just the better team.
Yeah, I got the 49ers as well. I feel like the Panthers are kind of bound to stay right around 500, and so a win, they're flying a little too close to the sun at 7-5. I just don't see it. I think they're going to fall to 6-6.
Also, what's our favorite stat?
When Christian McCaffrey is in the game with Kyle Shanahan, they win about 70% of the time.
And they have Brock Purdy back, which I don't think he's much better than Mac Jones, but the connection's definitely there better.
And if they win this week, they won't be at 70. They'll be at around 66.
So, but they need to
you
get
know,
higher to be able to hit that
yeah.
percentage. So this
So
will
they'll
happen.
continue on that upward trajectory.
Um, yeah. So I guess that wraps up our week 12. Wow, we're already at week 12. Week 12 predictions. Do you have any other thoughts before we kind of flip the script here?
No, that's it for me. I think we're in for a fun week, and I'm excited for it.
You know, it must have been a really, really interesting week to be in Georgia. You know, because while the Falcons are arguably one of the worst teams in football right now on the NFL side, those Bulldogs, they sure know how to win some football games. Uh, do you want to start with that? I feel like that's the bit of the elephant in the room, right?
Look, what did I say last week? Georgia knows how to play close games, but against Texas, they're going to destroy Arch Manning. And what did they do?
They destroyed Arch Manning.
They destroyed Arch Manning. If we did BTA for college, which may be a segment in the future, Georgia would absolutely take the cake on this one.
Yeah, no, Georgia kind of took care of business. I had Texas winning this game. I'm not upset about being wrong. I mean, I thought it could go either way. It obviously did not, but Georgia takes care of business and solidifies themselves as maybe the best SEC team.
I mean, yeah,
Maybe.
I think they are the best SEC team. Obviously, a lot of that is opinionated. Statistically, they have not been as good as A&M, but I would definitely give Georgia the nod on that one.
Well, let's look at everything else that happened from this past week. Clemson. They upset Louisville. We were like, oh, Clemson won't win. Clemson, why would they win? They won. So I guess we're both wrong on that front.
Yeah,
I don't know how Louisville takes that loss.
that's pretty unfortunate because that kind of ends
Yeah.
Louisville's playoff chances, whatever chances they had.
Oregon took care of business. Texas A&M. Oh, Texas A&M gave everybody a heart attack.
What a
they
game!
they really mounted a comeback against South Carolina. Impressive.
Yeah,
Impressive stuff.
that's an impressive game. I think it says a couple of things about A&M. I think it shows us that they're not the best team in the SEC because if you play that bad of a half of football, I don't think you can be considered as good as teams like Georgia or Alabama or at this point Oklahoma even. But I think it also says a lot about the resiliency of the team.
I say the grit.
Because a lot of teams crumble in that situation. I mean, the teams that we've talked about, like the BYU's, the teams that are kind of Georgia Tech, the teams that are kind of overperforming and getting it done at the top. But the A&M did not crumble this week, so I got to give them credit on that.
Yeah, I don't know. A&M is kind of showing up. They're not pumpkining out like everyone thought they would.
Mm-hmm.
Arizona took care of Cincinnati like we thought. Michigan took care of Northwestern. Indiana won against Wisconsin. Navy beat South Florida. I know our South Florida Bowl fan is very devastated, but that seemed inevitable.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Rip their season. Notre Dame beat Pittsburgh as they should have. Miami beats NC State. Virginia beat Duke. A couple of normal games here. USC beat Iowa. I think me and you were split on that game. I might be wrong on that. I know I picked USC.
I think I had Iowa in that one for sure. Yeah, I definitely went with Iowa.
Close game. I think
But they
Iowa
did
had
not get it done.
I think Iowa had the ball late, but weren't able to really do much with it. They needed a touchdown. USC was able to hang on. Texas Tech beats UCF. Georgia Tech beats Boston. Barely beats Boston College. That was scary. That was very scary.
Yeah, it took a last-second field goal. Did you see that Boston College senior that played his last home game and was sitting on the field after for like hours in his uniform, just
I
taking it
didn't see
all in
that.
one last time?
Man,
Yeah,
that's
that's pretty
crazy.
tough. And it's also, it's kind of it feels like a tough win for Georgia Tech because having to beat a team like Boston College by a field goal. Yeah, I think it just kind of shows that Georgia Tech's season is kind of over. I mean, at least their chances of beating Georgia in the last week they're still alive. They could go and beat Georgia, but I'm not sure if
If,
that's enough to get them in the playoffs.
well, if they can go and win the ACC title, I think that'd be enough.
If
That's
they win the ACC title, they're in, but
yeah.
that'd be tough.
It's a tough task, but I think it's doable. But it would take a lot.
They would need
Um,
to win out and beat Georgia in the last week
they
to do
would.
that.
Tennessee beat New Mexico State. Ole Miss escaped Florida. I know the game was a 10-point game. It was not a 10-point game that they played. They escaped
Mhm.
Florida there. But I guess they survived one more week.
Yep.
That is the most fraudulent team in college. I'm sorry. They just
Oh my
are.
gosh.
Ole Miss,
Fraudulent.
they are the most fraudulent team. I don't know. You're not saying like you disagree. So that's all I'm saying.
I mean, honestly, if I had to pick a team out of the top 15, a team that I think is most likely to drop, I I would have to I would have to say BYU in the at 11. I just kind of feel like a Big 12 team like that lost a game to Texas Tech. I'm not sure how good they actually are. But if we want to look at SEC teams, I think Ole Miss is definitely they played a lot of close
They're
games.
in that discussion.
Um, which it's interesting because that's a trait that we give Georgia credit for, but yet we diss teams like Ole Miss for. And I think it goes back to kind of the
The
what Georgia
history.
has proven. I believe I
Yep.
mentioned this on the last episode.
Yeah.
When you're a perennial national championship contender, and have all the national championships that they have under Kirby Smart, who, by the way, something we didn't mention earlier, had one of the craziest calls we've ever seen with the
No.
onside
Yeah.
kick at the end. I mean, how do you like? Who would have thought that? That is just if it didn't work, it would have been very confusing. But it worked, so he gets a lot of praise for it. But yeah, very strange.
It's also why Alabama's allowed to lose to Oklahoma. That's the only thing I'm going to say about that game because we both picked Bama. I was high on Oklahoma. The one time I don't pick them, they win. So you know what? Okay, Sooners.
Look, Oklahoma's better than we thought. I mean,
Yeah,
the fact that Big 12 is a conference of all offense, no defense. And so for Oklahoma in just their second SEC season to have this good of a defense when they change conferences, I think that's actually pretty impressive. They're one of the few teams that's made a big conference change and has actually looked prepared for it.
um, Utah beat Baylor, Ohio State beat UCLA, and BYU beat TCU. So a bunch of expected games there. So my information is not serving me correctly because I don't believe I have the correct rankings after this week. Do I? Maybe I do. Okay, so let me make sure here. I'm gonna fact check with you. Who is 25 in your rankings? The ones that you're looking at?
I got Houston in the AP and Tennessee in the college football playoff one.
So that's neither of what I have. So you're gonna momentarily hear me filling space as I find the correct one because the one I have is from last week where Cincinnati was still in the top 25, which I can assure you they are not.
Yeah,
Um,
that is old news right
Here
there.
you want to switch to you want to do the AP or you want to do the college football playoff one?
I think at this point, as later into the year we get, I think looking at the college football playoff standing might be the correct one, correct call at this point. But no matter which one you look at, the top three
Top
teams
is the
are
same.
consensus. You got Ohio State at 1, Indiana at 2, Texas A&M at 3. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna go to the AP rankings, which has all 25 teams. I'm gonna name off all the rankings, and you stop me when you get to one
Oh,
you
you're gonna
you
take
really
control
don't
this week.
like.
Go for it.
I'm gonna take charge of the situation. All
Go
right,
for it.
Ohio State 1, Indiana 2, Texas A&M 3. We got Georgia at 4, Ole Miss at 5. Then we got Oregon at 6, Texas Tech at 6. Now actually they are tied. They have the same amount of voting points, but they gave Oregon the edge. And then you have Oklahoma at 8, Notre Dame at 9, Alabama at
I'm gonna
10,
stop you here.
BYU
I'm
11.
gonna stop you here.
Oh,
Alabama being behind Notre Dame is ridiculous to me. That is
oh,
that is
okay.
insane to me. I know that Notre Dame's losses look better. Alabama is a significantly better team. I think if they played each other, Alabama would win by like 10. So,
I mean, I agree with that, but Notre Dame is on. They started off 0-2, and we gave them
whatever.
a lot of
Whatever.
a lot of
You know how I
what.
feel about them. Continue.
I know, but they are in an 8-game winning streak. I think we got to give them some credit. Um, okay, BYU at 11, Vanderbilt 12, Utah 13, Miami 14, Georgia Tech 15, USC 16. Texas only drops to 17. I thought it was going to be a lot worse with a game like that and being a 3-loss team, but that SEC pedigree is keeping them up there. Michigan 18, Virginia 19, Tennessee 20, James Madison, JMU getting it done. North Texas as well. We have a couple of sleeper teams up here. Missouri at 23, Tulane 24, Houston rounds out the AP poll at 25.
No, that honestly, aside from what I talked about, seems just about right. Not really too much for me to say there. I wanna before we wrap up, obviously look ahead to this coming week, and we will close out the show with that. But let's kind of split. You know what? I want to do this. No thinking. I want immediate prediction. Basically, we're gonna speed run this. Are you
We're
ready?
rapid firing
Rapid
at
fire.
this.
We're gonna lightning round this for this week. We're gonna make
Okay,
this
okay.
fun. Ready? So you get. I'll give you about 3 seconds to think, and then you got to pick.
Oh, I can go right now.
All right, ready? A&M and
Ready?
Stanford. A&M.
A&M,
Missouri and Oklahoma. Oklahoma.
Oklahoma,
Miami and Virginia Tech. Miami, but I'm gonna
Miami.
put this game on upset alert. I'm gonna put
Oh,
this game on upset
okay.
alert.
That's tough.
Rutgers and Ohio State. Ohio State.
Yeah, Ohio State.
Louisville and SMU. SMU.
I'm going Louisville on this one, actually. I don't think SMU's that good.
I think SMU can upset Louisville, personally.
Back-to-back upsets for Louisville, that'd be kind of wild.
That'd be funny. I'd laugh. I'd just laugh, honestly. Uh, Georgia, Charlotte, Georgia.
Yeah, Georgia might win this game by 80, but knowing them, they'll
How
beat
do some of
Louisville.
these games get scheduled? My best question. Like Georgia
Charlotte
is
must
just
have paid these guys like 20 million or something. I mean, this is
dude. Good money
this
for
is crazy.
Charlotte. Good money for Charlotte. Good job.
Yeah.
Um, Eastern Illinois, Alabama, Alabama.
Yeah, give me Alabama. I mean, this just everyone's paying the bad schools to play this
They
week. What
just
is
didn't want
going
to play
on?
competition this year.
Yeah,
South
give me Bama on this one.
um because I'm gonna have to pull up the full schedule here, but some of these games are not ranked. But South Florida, UAB,
South Florida, I
South
guess.
Florida.
And it'd be kind of disappointing if they lost again.
Um, I see Vandy and Kentucky.
Give me
Give me Vanderbilt.
Give me Kentucky in an upset in this one. I feel like
Uh-huh.
Kentucky's bound to break one. Give me the Wildcats on this one.
I'm currently switching to ESPN schedules as this is happening because my thing is still incorrect. Uh,
Mm.
all right. Is there anything else here? I definitely am missing a few games. Um, I'm sure you want to talk about. I'm sure you want to talk about this game. Um, we have. Oops, sorry, I just lost it. There it is. Um, we have. What? Does that say what I think it says?
Oh boy, what do you see?
So I don't know. Is that a USC Oregon game this week that I see?
That is a USC Oregon game.
Give me USC.
But
Okay, okay. Give me Oregon.
no, give me
Give me
Oregon. I
Oregon.
don't know. I'm not fully sold on USC. I'm gonna be honest, even though they've won a couple of pretty competitive games over the last couple of
No, no,
months.
no. Yeah, yeah. Give me Oregon. I'm
But
trolling.
I don't know. I like Oregon in this one. I'm
I,
gonna go with Oregon.
I'm in full troll mode right there. Give me Oregon. Uh, Notre Dame plays Syracuse. Give me Notre Dame.
Yeah, Notre Dame.
Texas plays Arkansas. Texas has to win. They have to, which they will. They'll beat Arkansas.
Texas will win this game. Arch Manning, this is a big game for Arch Manning. He has to have a good one.
Um, Iowa plays Michigan State. Give me Iowa.
I'm actually going to go Michigan State on this one. Don't know why we're covering that game.
I'm just looking. I'm scrolling through here. I'm picking apart extra games to be given some non top 25 love. That's what I decided I'm gonna do.
Interesting.
We haven't talked about them in a while. I just want to mention them because they're a big market. UNC versus Duke is this week in football.
Versus who?
Duke.
Oh, Duke.
UNC, I
if
guess.
Bill Belichick loses to a basketball school, it might just be time to hang it up.
Yeah.
I think they're going to win it, but they are on upset alert and retirement alert.
I'm just throwing games out here, man. We got Utah plays. Does that say KSU? Does that say Kansas State?
Kansas State right there. Give me Utah on this
Give me
one. I mean,
Utah.
come on. Oh, to put into perspective how bad of an opponent Kansas State is to play, Oklahoma State almost beat them last week.
Thanks.
I mean, they're a few turnovers away from winning that game, so Kansas State is not in order right now.
Michigan, Maryland. Give me Michigan.
Give me Michigan. I mean, come on.
Houston, TCU. Give me Houston.
Yeah, Houston's gonna win this one.
Currently still scrolling. Georgia Tech plays Pittsburgh. Give me Georgia Tech.
I'm hoping for a Georgia Tech win. Don't have a good feeling about this game, though. I think Pittsburgh is going to come in with the upset and kind of kill Georgia Tech's season.
Tennessee plays Florida in Florida. Give me Florida.
Oh, my gosh. You were so high on Florida. Tennessee's winning this game.
No.
Florida is riding the wave of beating Notre Dame in, like, week 2. they're not. They're. I don't think they're that good.
I'm taking
I
Florida.
think Tennessee's
We
gonna
can agree to
lose.
disagree. I'm taking Florida.
All right.
Trying to find if there's any other notable games. Illinois plays Wisconsin for what it's worth. Give me Illinois.
Yeah.
BYU plays Cincinnati. BYU has to win. Give me BYU.
Yeah. BYU needs to win. Cincinnati lost last week and fell out of the rankings. I like BYU in this matchup.
Is there any other important games that I did not say that you're missing here?
I mean, you got to mention North Texas and Rice. I mean, come on now.
My apologies to North Texas and Rice. Give me North Texas.
They're ranked. You gotta. All right, give me the ranks North Texas on this one
The
over Rice.
the one
I like that.
the one team I'm trying to find here, which I didn't see their game, is James Madison. But
JMU is play. I saw them earlier. They're playing Washington State.
give me JMU.
Yeah,
Give me
yeah.
JMU.
They need to win
I
that.
don't think I missed any other games. I don't think you missed a game. So unless you have anything else, that will wrap up episode 12 for me.
Oh, that's it from me.
Okay, well, if that's the case, then that'll do it for Sideline to Speedway. Uh, we will hopefully get to talk about how correct we are next week as we inch closer and closer to the college playoffs. We inch closer and closer to the NFL playoffs. Hopefully, the Chiefs prove me right and they don't sell to the Colts. That would be a double-edged sword for me. Let's hope that doesn't happen. But all things considered, thank you guys so much for joining us on Sideline to Speedway. We'll see you guys next week for episode and week 13.
Thank you, guys.